During our Christmas trip, both I and my husband's first love were bitten by a venomous snake at the same time. The hospital had only one vial of anti-venom left. Without a moment's hesitation, my husband snatched it and insisted that his first love be injected first. He snapped impatiently, "Hazel's constitution is delicate. You come from a family of traditional Chinese medicine practitioners, just let her have it. I owed her a debt in the past and it's only right that you help me repay it." "Fine then. I'll repay that debt with 2 lives. But later." Why did he cry so bitterly at my grave? After being bitten by the venomous snake, I was rushed to the nearest hospital. Also bitten was my husband's first love, Hazel Zhang. The snake's venom raced through my bloodstream straight to my heart. My heart was pounding erratically and death loomed at any second. At that moment the hospital had only one last vial of anti-venom left, and the doctor planned to save me first. Hazel Zhang panicked and cried out, "Doctor, I was bitten by the snake too. Why aren't you saving me first? I have a turtle at home waiting for me to feed it. If I don't go back it'll starve to death." The doctor of course knew which case was more urgent. Left with no choice, Hazel Zhang turned to my husband for help. "Felix Pei, that turtle was a gift from you 3 years ago. You said it would be my guardian deity. If I die, no one will be left to take care of our guardian." Hazel Zhang sobbed her heart out, looking utterly pitiful. Felix Pei's resolve melted instantly. He fixed the doctor with a stern, threatening glare. "I am Clara Sue's husband and I take full responsibility for her life and death. Give that anti-venom to Hazel Zhang. If she dies I'll sue you for everything you've got." I stared at Felix Pei in disbelief. But he only said to me, "It's just anti-venom. The nearby hospitals will have more supplies soon. You're from a TCM family, just give yourself a few acupuncture needles, and you'll definitely hold on until the new anti-venom arrives." But Hazel can't wait. Her body is too fragile, not to mention she has a pet waiting for her back home. The snake venom had already started to take its toll. My head spun, my vision blurred, my heart thundered wildly, and my limbs trembled as I foamed at the mouth. I told myself I had to fight for that vial of anti-venom. "Felix Pei, save me. Hazel Zhang won't die, but I really will. I'm your wife." Felix Pei brushed my hand away roughly, his voice cold as ice. "Clara Sue, you're afraid of death, don't tell me Hazel isn't. Your family has always been known for healing the sick and saving the dying. How can you be so selfish, thinking only of your own survival? Who are you even worthy of?" Hazel Zhang clutched her chest, feigning a look of deep heartache. "Sister Clara Sue, I know you hate me because I'm Felix Pei's first love. You want me dead. But you've already married Felix Pei, you have the best man in the world. All I have is this guardian deity he gave me to live for. Am I not pitiful enough?" Hearing Hazel Zhang sing his praises, Felix Pei felt an even deeper surge of guilt toward her. "Clara Sue, I'm so disappointed in you. I am your husband and I'm ordering the doctor to give the anti-venom to Hazel. Just hold on a little longer." Using his status as a lawyer, Felix Pei threatened the doctor, warning that if he refused to save Hazel Zhang, he would ruin him financially and destroy his entire career. The doctor still hesitated, but Felix Pei snatched the anti-venom and injected it into Hazel Zhang himself. I watched helplessly as my chance at survival was taken away by my own husband. The venom had already invaded my heart and nervous system. I began to suffocate, feeling as if someone was squeezing my neck tight enough to break it. But Felix Pei didn't spare me a single glance of concern. After receiving the anti-venom, Hazel Zhang clung to Felix Pei as if she had been given a new lease on life. The two of them looked exactly like a reunited couple. The doctor beside them was filled with rage and accused Felix Pei sharply. "Hazel Zhang's snake bite is just a minor one, it's not fatal at all. The one who's really in mortal danger is your wife." Felix Pei waved his hand dismissively. "I'm used to protecting Hazel. You wouldn't understand. As for my wife, don't worry, she can save herself. How could someone from a TCM family die from a mere snake bite? Hazel is the one who truly needs the anti-venom." No sooner had he finished speaking than a nurse shouted in panic, "We have a patient in cardiac arrest. Hurry and start resuscitation." That patient was me. Felix Pei knew it and Hazel Zhang knew it too. "Felix Pei, after going through life and death together, I just want to go home and see my guardian deity right away. Can you come with me? I'm so scared to take the plane alone." You promised me that you and the guardian deity would always protect me. Felix Pei agreed without a second thought, even booking the earliest flight possible. Before leaving, he sent me a text message. I'm going back with Hazel. Come home by yourself when you're feeling better. Don't overthink it. If he had just turned around, he would have heard the doctor say that there was another life growing inside my belly. I don't know when my soul left my body. I stared at the cold, heartless man before me. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. 3 years of marriage. Yet all it took was one cry from Felix Pei's first love to claim the lives of me and our child. Perhaps because I died in a foreign land, my soul had nowhere to rest. I followed them back home, floating invisibly beside them. Felix Pei brought Hazel Zhang into our house. Her eyes fell on the 3 fish swimming in the fish tank in our living room, and my heart twisted with an unbearable pain. I had always longed to have a child of our own, and those 3 fish symbolized our future family of 3. Back then, Felix Pei had even said that his career had been going much smoother ever since we got those fish. So I had taken meticulous care of them every single day. Hazel Zhang held her turtle in her arms, gazing at the fish tank with obvious envy. Felix Pei, if only my guardian deity could live in a big fish tank like this. Sister Clara Sue is so capable. When she comes back, I'll definitely ask her for tips on how to take care of fish. Felix Pei's voice softened as he spoke to her. What's so great about her? She's just a woman who raises a few fish. You don't have to envy her. Just then the property management company called. Are you Mr. Sue's husband? Miss Sue hasn't been answering her phone. Could you please come over and pay the property management fees? Felix Pei hung up the phone, his face darkening with anger. Clara Sue is getting more and more arrogant. She can't even be bothered to take care of such trivial matters. If she's that capable, she might as well never come back to this house again. I had always kept our home in immaculate order. Yet he didn't even bat an eye at how out of character my behavior was. Hazel Zhang added fuel to the fire, saying with a fake smile, maybe Sister Clara Sue is just having too much fun on her trip and forgot all about it. At her words, Felix Pei's expression turned even grimmer. I watched as he lowered his head and sent me another text message. Have you gone wild with joy on your trip? You can't even remember to pay the property management fees. Don't bother me with all these trivial household matters ever again. Glancing at the displeased Felix Pei, Hazel Zhang shot a triumphant look at our wedding photo hanging in the living room. Felix Pei, having you and the guardian deity protect me is the greatest blessing of my life. Those 3 fish would make such a delicious soup, wouldn't they? Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot they're your pet fish. I'm such a greedy little foodie. Felix Pei found her words adorable and laughed out loud, gently tapping the tip of her nose with his finger. The scene looked exactly like a pair of lovers deeply in love. So where did that leave me? Were all my efforts in our marriage just a joke? Hazel Zhang put on a show of being sensible and said, even though I really love fish soup, Sister Clara Sue will definitely be upset when she comes back and sees the fish are gone. Let's forget about it then. Felix Pei waved her concerns away nonchalantly. She's already forgotten all about this home. She couldn't even remember to pay the property management fees. Her heart hasn't been in this family for a long time. You don't have to feel guilty. It's Clara Sue who owes you an apology. When she comes back, I'll make her apologize to you properly. I owe Hazel Zhang an apology? 3 years of marriage, 3 years of devotion. He left me to die when I was on the brink of death, and now he says I owe his first love an apology? Felix Pei had probably forgotten how he pursued me relentlessly back in the day. My family has been practicing traditional Chinese medicine for generations. Felix Pei's mother had been bedridden for years, and it was my family's treatments that relieved her suffering and allowed her to regain some mobility. When I first met Felix Pei, I only thought he was a handsome man. After a few encounters, he launched a fierce pursuit of me. Naturally, we ended up getting married. I thought I had found true happiness. But little did I know that I had made the mistake of never checking his phone. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Felix Pei reconnected with his first love, Hazel Zhang. Now Felix Pei claimed that he was taking the terrified, snake-bitten Hazel Zhang back to our home to comfort her. But in reality, he was just trying to make up for the regrets he had of not being able to be with her in the past. I died alone in a foreign land, while he was busy decorating a room in our marital home for his first love. Overwhelmed with emotion, Hazel Zhang leaned in and pressed a gentle kiss to his cheek. Felix Pei's face turned slightly red. His eyes accidentally fell on our wedding photo hanging in the living room, and he quickly averted his gaze as if he was ashamed. Suddenly the phone rang. It was a call from the hospital. "Are you Clara Sue's husband? Your wife's body is at our hospital. When will you come to claim it?" Felix Pei froze for a few seconds but quickly composed himself. "Scam call? If my wife was really dead, you wouldn't need to call to inform me." With that he hung up the phone. After thinking for a moment he decided to call me. But just then Hazel Zhang looked up at him with a dejected, sorrowful expression. "Felix Pei, are you getting tired of me? When sister comes back I suppose I'll have to leave. I thought I could stay a few more days." Felix Pei stared at the contact in his phone labeled wife for a moment, then silently closed his phone without making the call. "Hazel, don't be sad. You can stay here as long as you want these next few days. Think of it as my way of apologizing to you on Clara Sue's behalf." His words felt like a ruthless knife, carving my soul to pieces and leaving it bleeding profusely. Bringing his first love into our home is his way of apologizing to her on my behalf? Felix Pei. In your eyes, does everything have to take a backseat to your first love? Well, now that I'm dead, you're finally free. The National Day holiday was drawing to a close, and Felix Pei and Hazel Zhang were getting along swimmingly. They looked exactly like a married couple. In this warm, cozy moment, Felix Pei's younger sister Stella Pei called. "Brother, a hospital called and said something happened to sister-in-law. They want me to go identify her body. Is this true? Weren't you supposed to be by her side?" The worry was evident in Stella's voice as she feared the worst had happened to me. When I first started dating Felix Pei, Stella had just been admitted to university. Like me, she was studying traditional Chinese medicine and she had always looked up to me. She even said that she wanted me to be her mentor when she went for her internship. Now it seemed that would never happen. That day was a big day for Hazel Zhang and Felix Pei. They were going to find a mate for their precious turtle. Felix Pei brushed Stella's concerns off without a second thought. "It's just a scam call. Don't pay any attention to it." With that, he hung up the phone in a hurry and focused on helping Hazel Zhang pick out a mate for their guardian deity. "Was that your sister calling just now? Did she mention Clara Sue?" Hazel Zhang asked casually, trying to fish for information about me. Felix Pei didn't care in the least. "My sister got a scam call saying that Clara Sue is dead. She's a perfectly healthy woman, how could she possibly be dead? These scammers are getting more and more creative with their lies these days." If Felix Pei had just bothered to listen carefully to the hospital's address, he would have known that it wasn't a scam call at all. But at that moment his mind was only on accompanying his first love. He didn't spare a single thought for my safety. Soon enough they finished their errand and returned home happily, hand in hand. Their figures walked side by side, bound in a love that knew no doubt. A flicker of jealousy stirred within me. Once when I asked Felix Pei to help me change the fish tank water, he'd scowled in irritation. Fish are such a hassle, always needing their water changed. If you can't handle it, don't keep them at all. So turns out he was never one to mind trouble, it just depended on who the trouble was for. I thought Felix Pei loved me until I saw how he loved someone else. How laughable. I'd been nothing but a fool all along. The guardian deity seems to adore this fish pond. Hazel sighed. Too bad we can't stay here long. When Clara Sue comes back, your guardian and I will have to move out. Felix Pei fell into a brief, pensive silence. Don't worry. I still have another house under my name. I'll just make Clara Sue move there then. That house was my dowry brought with me from my maiden home. Just then a loud knock echoed at the door. It was his younger sister Stella Pei, her eyes red and swollen from crying. The moment she spotted Hazel Zhang in the house, she exploded in a fit of rage. You shameless woman! How dare you step foot in my brother and sister-in-law's home? Get out of here right now. You're the one who killed my sister-in-law. Hazel Zhang immediately scurried behind Felix Pei, seeking shelter. Felix Pei stepped forward, shielding her protectively. What's gotten into you? She's my guest, invited here by me. Who would know better than me whether your sister-in-law is dead or alive? She's clearly using you to get back at Hazel. Stella Pei stared at him in utter disbelief. You're still defending her at a time like this? Sister-in-law is dead. She was carrying a 1-month-old baby in her womb. Are you even still my brother? Are you even human? Felix Pei's eyes remained cold and impassive. He was convinced that I was manipulating Stella to get revenge on Hazel. Clara Sue is still holding a grudge over the anti-venom incident. She's even stooped so low as to use our unborn child as a pawn. How could she have become so vile and despicable? Felix Pay was so set in his delusion that his words grew more absurd by the second. Even if your sister-in-law was really pregnant, Hazel has lived for over 20 years. How could a measly 1-month-old fetus compare to her? Clara Sue can lie all she wants, but you're my own sister. Don't go along with her nonsense. Stella Pay clutched her chest, gasping in anger. Brother, how dare you compare your own flesh and blood to this vixen? 4 years, sister-in-law has poured her heart and soul into this family. Are you blind? This scheming vixen, slap. The sound of the slap echoed sharply through the room. Stella Pay, this is your final warning. Don't you dare call Hazel a vixen ever again. I once promised her that I would protect her for the rest of my life, and I will not hesitate to hurt you, even if you are my own flesh and blood. Your sister-in-law is just faking her own death. She's supposed to be a descendant of traditional Chinese medicine, but she doesn't have an ounce of the healer's compassion in her. She doesn't deserve to call herself a TCM practitioner. She's been gallivanting around on her trip, abandoning her home and her responsibilities, and now she has the nerve to stir you up to cause trouble in my house? When she comes back, she'll be in for a piece of my mind. As he spoke, Hazel Zhang suddenly collapsed to the floor, gasping weakly. I feel lightheaded from all the shouting and insults. Without a moment's hesitation, Felix Pay rushed into my bedroom and pried open my safe. Inside lay my family heirloom, a century-old ginseng root. A single sliver of it could work miracles, reviving even those on the brink of death. Countless people had offered fortunes to buy it from me over the years, but I'd always refused. I knew this treasure was meant to be used only in the direst of emergencies. Brother, that's sister-in-law's dowry. You can't just take it without her permission. Felix Pay waved his hand dismissively, his face devoid of any guilt. No matter how valuable it is, it's meant to be used to save lives. Your sister-in-law's things are mine. She married me for better or for worse. I make the rules in this house. Stella Pay threw herself in front of him, blocking his path. Brother, you absolutely cannot give sister-in-law's ginseng to that vixen. Felix Pay roughly shoved her aside. What kind of nonsense has your sister-in-law filled your head with? She's clearly using the kindness she showed our family in the past to guilt-trip you into siding with her. If it weren't for the favors she did us back then, I would have divorced her a long time ago. So all those years of tender love and care between us, in his eyes, it had all just been him repaying a debt? I'd had no idea he'd been harboring so much resentment all along. With no other choice left, Stella Pay pulled out her phone and held it up to his face. Open your eyes and look. I've already claimed sister-in-law's body. This is a photo of her lying in the funeral parlor. The baby was still in her womb. Her funeral is in a few days. Felix Pay froze, staring blankly at the screen as if he couldn't comprehend what he was seeing. What? What did you say? Whose body? Stella Pay repeated each word slowly, her voice trembling with rage and grief. Sister-in-law's body. Felix Pay stumbled backward, barely catching himself as Hazel rushed to prop him up. Stella Pay, I know you and your sister-in-law have never liked me, Hazel whimpered, her eyes brimming with crocodile tears. But faking a death is going too far, don't you think? Clara Sue is a descendant of a century-old TCM lineage. Her ancestors were said to be able to bring the dead back to life. How could a mere snake bite kill her? All your brother and I ever wanted was a place to call home. Why is it so hard for you to just let us be? As she spoke, Hazel's gaze fell on the turtle in the fish pond, and she burst into loud, heart-wrenching sobs. Stella Pay was so enraged by her shameless lies and antics that she raised her hand and slapped Hazel hard across the face. You want a home? Then go build one of your own instead of destroying other people's families. You killed my sister-in-law and now you have the nerve to cry? You vile, heartless bitch. But Felix Pay had already bought into Hazel's act hook, line, and sinker. He pushed Stella away roughly. I almost fell for your and Clara Sue's cheap trick. She must have put you up to this, making you stage this whole charade. If she really is dead, I'll have her cremated immediately, and scatter her ashes in the gutter where they belong. I've put up with her nonsense for far too long. She's always parading around like some kind of saintly healer, but when push came to shove she only cared about saving her own skin and didn't give a damn about Hazel's life. How dare she call herself a TCM heir? It's a disgrace to the profession. Felix Pay had always suffered from a severe stomach ailment, and I'd taken great pains to regulate his diet over the years, ensuring he ate only what was good for his health. I'd thought he would appreciate my care and devotion. Never in my wildest dreams had I imagined that he'd been harboring such deep-seated resentment toward me for it all along. And as for the accusation that I'd only cared about saving myself, wasn't that exactly what Hazel had done? I was your wife, Felix Pay. Your own flesh and blood. Stella Pay looked at him, her eyes filled with nothing but cold, bitter disappointment. The doctors were right about you. You really are the most heartless, unfeeling husband in the world. I've already paid to have sister-in-law's body transported back home. It's at the funeral parlor right now. If you have any shred of decency left in you, come with me to see for yourself. Hazel Zhang tugged anxiously at Felix Pay's sleeve. Felix Pay, do you think your sister is trying to lure you away so that Clara Sue can come back and hurt me and my guardian deity? I don't mind getting hurt myself, but the guardian deity just got married. I don't want it to suffer because of me. Felix Pay squeezed her hand reassuringly. Don't worry, I won't fall for their tricks. Stella Pay, get out of my house right now. And tell your sister-in-law that if she ever wants to step foot in this home again, she'll have to kneel and beg for Hazel's forgiveness first. Kneel and beg for forgiveness? Had I murdered his parents? What unspeakable crime had I committed against him? Felix Pay, for the sake of your first love and a mere pet turtle, you've dragged my name through the mud and reduced me to nothing. How true it was that those who are loved can afford to be reckless and unafraid. I'd always loved him too deeply, too unconditionally, and that was why he'd always taken me for granted, convinced that I would never leave him no matter what he did. I wished with all my soul that Felix Pay would learn the truth about my death right this second. I wanted nothing more than to see whether he would cry for me or laugh. With a final look of utter despair, Stella Pay turned and stormed out of the house. Watching her retreating figure, I felt a fierce urge to follow her, to leave this man and this place behind forever. But my soul remained trapped, bound to Felix Pay by an invisible thread I couldn't break. The next day Hazel Zhang's turtle died. Felix Pay, my guardian deity is gone, she wailed, clutching the turtle's tiny body to her chest. It's been with me for so many years. I can't bear the thought of it being buried without any dignity. Tears glistened in Felix Pay's eyes as he comforted her. A single pet turtle was enough to make him cry. Then what about the 3 fish in the tank, the fish that had symbolized our future family of 3? What had they ever been to him? Once, a patient I'd been treating had passed away, and I'd been so distraught that I'd cried for days. Felix Pay had dismissed my grief with a scoff, calling me overly sentimental and ridiculous. Now I finally understood. He'd never been able to empathize with my pain, never been able to feel sorry for me, simply because he'd never loved me at all. Felix Pay, I want to bury my guardian deity in a proper cemetery, Hazel sniffled. That way I can visit it every day and talk to it. Felix Pay agreed without hesitation. Because he knew exactly where to find the perfect burial spot. Then we'll bury it in Clara Sue's family cemetery. The scenery there is beautiful and it's conveniently located too. That cemetery plot had been a gift from my family, a final resting place meant for Felix Pay and me to share for eternity. From the day I was born until the day I died, my parents had always taken such meticulous care of every detail of my life. They could never have imagined that even this final gift would be stolen from me in such a cruel way. On the very same day my funeral was held. But instead of attending my service to mourn my passing, Felix Pay took Hazel Zhang to the countryside cemetery, my family's cemetery. Who dares to occupy this plot of land? Felix Pay roared at the groundskeeper, his face contorted with rage. Dig it up right now. I need this spot to bury Hazel's guardian deity. My parents had passed away long ago, so the only people presiding over my funeral were Stella Pay and my cousin, Caspian Sue. Caspian had stepped away briefly to escort some of the mourners back to their cars, leaving Stella alone at the cemetery when Felix and Hazel arrived. Stella Pay's eyes blazed with fury as she glared at the pair of them. Today is my sister-in-law's funeral. You 2 shameless adulterers, get out of here right now. Your presence is polluting this sacred ground. Hazel Zhang hugged the turtle's body tightly to her chest, then added fuel to the fire with a fake trembling voice. It's clear that sister-in-law and Stella are very close, she said, casting a mournful glance at my tombstone. She's even gone to such lengths to put on this elaborate act for her, using a family cemetery plot as a prop. It seems my poor guardian deity isn't destined to rest in such a beautiful place after all. Felix Pei, let's just leave. It's not worth fighting over. At her words, Felix Pei's anger boiled over. He stormed forward and roughly tore the photo of me off my tombstone. Stella Pei lunged at him, snatching the black and white portrait from his hands and clutching it tightly to her chest as if it were a priceless treasure. Brother, you really are no different from this vile woman. You're both heartless monsters. That tombstone belongs to your wife. Determined to secure the perfect burial spot for her pet, Hazel Zhang dropped to her knees and began wailing loudly. Stella Pei, how can you be so cruel to me? My guardian deity is dead. All I wanted was to bury it in a nice place. What did I ever do to deserve this? Humans and animals are equal in the eyes of heaven. Why won't you give my poor little turtle the dignity it deserves? Felix Pei was completely swept up in her grief. Without a second thought, he grabbed a shovel and began digging up my grave. Hazel's guardian deity deserves to be laid to rest as soon as possible, he growled, his movements growing more frantic with each shovel of dirt. It's the least we can do to ease her pain. I'm not leaving here until it's buried in this cemetery. Stella Pei grabbed a wooden stick and charged at him, determined to stop him at all costs. If you dare desecrate my sister-in-law's grave today, I'll fight you to the death. Hazel Zhang deliberately stepped into Stella's path, allowing the stick to strike her shoulder hard. Then she turned to the turtle's body, her voice trembling with fake sorrow. My dearest guardian deity. Now it's my turn to protect you. Don't worry. Even though you didn't get to live a life of luxury, I promise you'll get the most honorable burial possible. Witnessing this sacrifice, Felix Pei became even more convinced that he was doing the right thing. He dug into my grave with renewed vigor. Until finally, with a sickening crunch, his shovel hit something hard. My urn. Stella Pei was no match for the two of them. She could only watch in horror as Felix Pei lifted my urn out of the ground and then hurled it violently to the ground like it was nothing more than a piece of trash. My ashes spilled out onto the dirt, mingling with bits of unburned bone fragments and the broken chain of the necklace I'd loved so much in life. A gust of wind blew, scattering my remains into the air and carrying them away. Hazel Zhang pretended to be blinded by the swirling ashes, then lifted her foot and deliberately stepped on the fragments of bone left on the ground, grinding them into dust with the heel of her shoe. Stella Pei dropped to her knees, throwing herself over the remaining bits of my ashes and covering them with her body to shield them from further desecration. Sister-in-law. I'm so sorry. I failed to protect you, she sobbed, her voice breaking into uncontrollable hiccups. Please don't be angry with me. The Pei family has wronged you deeply. We're not worthy of your forgiveness. I wanted nothing more than to reach out and comfort her, to tell her that none of this was her fault. She had been the kindest, most loyal sister-in-law I could ever have asked for. It was Felix Pei who owed me an apology. He, the husband, had actually dug up his legal wife's grave. All to bury a pet turtle that belonged to his first love. How utterly absurd. When his eyes fell on the necklace scattered among the ashes, Felix Pei froze abruptly. Hazel Zhang stepped forward quickly, blocking his line of sight. She looked up at him with those big teary eyes, her voice soft and pitiful. Felix Pei, we can't wait any longer to bury my guardian deity. If we delay, its body will start to rot. Felix Pei snapped out of his daze. He picked up the small box containing the turtle's corpse and placed it gently into the grave he'd just dug. Just then my cousin Caspian Su returned. Caspian and Felix had once been good friends. In fact, he was the one who'd introduced us to each other in the first place. Caspian rushed over in a rage, his fist flying straight into Felix Pei's face. You bastard! My sister treated you like a king and this is how you repay her? Digging up her grave just to bury a lousy turtle. You chose to give the only anti-venom to that woman who dumped you years ago, letting my sister die. Why don't you just go to hell? Caspian and I had been close since childhood. When he'd struggled to fund his business startup, it was me who'd lent him the money, helping him build his career from scratch. I'd died while he was away on a business trip in another city, so he hadn't known the news until it was too late. Felix Pei wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, showing not the slightest hint of remorse. Caspian Su, look how brave you've gotten. I'm your brother-in-law and you dare to hit me? Don't tell me you're falling for your sister's little fake death stunt too. I almost forgot you've always been her lapdog, still owing her money for that business loan. Of course you'd help her stage this ridiculous charade. The spot where Felix Pei had fallen was exactly where my ashes had been scattered. As he stood up, he even kicked at the ashes on the ground in disgust. Caspian's anger flared to new heights at the sight. He swung another fist at Felix, but this time Felix caught it mid-air. Caspian Su, we're both men. You of all people should understand how important a first love is to a man. And tell me, would you tolerate your own wife faking her death just to stir up trouble and ruin your life? A woman like that is nothing but a curse to her family. Caspian stared at him as if he were an idiot. You've been completely brainwashed by a washed-up first love and a stupid turtle. You really are the dumbest man alive. Open your eyes and look, you're standing on my sister's ashes right now. Felix Pei didn't even glance down. He scoffed confidently. That's just flour mixed with chicken bones. I can see right through your sister's cheap tricks. She's probably out there on her trip having the time of her life. With that, he pulled out his phone and opened my WeChat moments. The screen showed that my moments were still being updated with posts about the trip. Stella Pei and Caspian Su stared at the phone in shock. I was dead, so who had been using my phone to post these updates? It was obvious that someone had done it deliberately with malicious intent. Their suspicious eyes immediately turned to Hazel Zhang. But to Felix Pei, their stunned expressions looked nothing more than guilty panic at having their lies exposed. Nothing to say now, is there? Your sister isn't dead at all. I'm burying the guardian deity in this plot, and I don't need her permission to do it. If she has a problem with it, she can come tell me herself. This cemetery plot had been our promise to each other, a place where we would lie together for eternity, united even in death. Now it held a turtle's corpse instead of me. I truly had been nothing but a fool all along. My sister really is dead. If you don't believe me, come to the police station right now and see her death certificate. And we can also investigate who's been using her phone to post fake updates on moments. Caspian's unwavering certainty suddenly made Felix Pei's confidence waver. Just then Hazel Zhang clutched her chest and gasped, looking pale and weak. Felix Pei's concern for her flared up instantly. He forgot all about Caspian's words in a heartbeat. Hazel put on a show of being the selfless, kind-hearted woman, saying softly, Felix Pei, after you take me to the hospital, don't worry about me anymore. Go find Clara Sue and help her end this silly fake death drama. That way everyone can finally have some peace. Felix Pei looked at her with nothing but tenderness and pity in his eyes. You don't have to feel sorry for that woman. When she comes back, she'll have to kneel and beg for my forgiveness for a full day and night, otherwise I'll never forgive her. A full day and night of kneeling and begging. Felix Pei, it seemed that you were the one person in this world who could never bring himself to feel sorry for me. But I was already dead. I would never have to endure another moment of your cruelty ever again. After returning home, Hazel Zhang refused to eat or drink. She lay in bed looking haggard and listless. In her sleep, she whimpered the turtle's name over and over again, her tears soaking the pillow beneath her head. Felix Pei, she whispered when she woke up, her voice trembling with grief. I miss my guardian deity so much. It was a gift from you, my protector. Even though it's gone now, I still want to see it every single day. Looking at the heartbroken woman lying in bed, Felix Pei leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. He spoke to her in the soft, coaxing tone one would use on a child. Don't be sad. I promise I'll find a way to bring your guardian deity back to you. In all our years of marriage, it had always been me who'd had to initiate our kisses. Every time I'd asked him why he never kissed me first, he'd always brushed it off, saying he was just an introverted man who wasn't good at expressing his feelings. As long as one of us knows how to show love, he'd said, that's enough for both of us. Now I finally understood the truth. He'd never kissed me first simply because he'd never loved me. All those words had just been empty excuses. Felix Pei turned and left the house, heading straight for a jewelry store. He took out the photo of the turtle and demanded that the jeweler make him an exact replica, out of solid gold. The custom-made golden turtle would cost at least 100,000 yuan. His salary was decent but not nearly enough to afford something that expensive. And yet he bought it anyway using our marriage fund. That fund had been set aside for our future children. Raising a child wasn't cheap: formula, diapers, baby clothes, vaccinations, doctor's visits. The list went on and on. But now, Felix Pei had spent every penny of that money on a golden turtle for Hazel Zhang. The worst kind of heartbreak wasn't the kind that made you scream or cry, it was the kind that left you feeling empty, numb, and utterly hopeless. As he walked out of the jewelry store, Felix Pei was in an excellent mood. Before heading home, he even stopped by the supermarket, buying a cart full of snacks and ingredients, all of Hazel's favorites. In the kitchen, Felix Pei tied on an apron and cooked for her, his movements careful and deliberate. The dishes he made were perfectly cooked, colorful, fragrant, and nutritionally balanced. It was the first time I'd ever seen him cook. In the past, even when I'd been sick in bed, he'd never bothered to make me so much as a bowl of porridge. He'd just ordered takeout, claiming that he didn't know how to cook. Now I knew the real reason. I'd never been worthy enough to eat a meal that he'd made with his own hands. "Hazel, this is stir-fried beef with yellow peppers," he said, placing the plate in front of her with a smile. "You've lost so much weight lately. You need to eat more meat to get your strength back." Hazel pouted, acting like a spoiled child. "I don't have any appetite." Felix Pei was infinitely patient with her, coaxing her gently. "If you eat just one more bite, I'll let you see your guardian deity again." At his words, Hazel immediately perked up and obediently ate an entire bowl of rice. I floated in the air, watching the warm, loving scene unfold before my eyes. The way they looked at each other, so intimate, so tender, who could ever believe they weren't a married couple? I placed a hand on my stomach, suddenly thinking of our unborn child, who had already begun to take shape in my womb. I wondered if the baby had hated me for being such a useless mother, unable to keep even his own father by our side. I couldn't help but wonder what Felix Pei's reaction would be when he finally learned the truth, that both his wife and his child had died that day. The phone rang suddenly. It was a call from the police station, asking Felix Pei to come in for questioning. The reason? Someone had been using my phone to post updates on moments, deliberately creating the illusion that I was still alive and faking my death. And then there was the little matter of him digging up my grave. At the police station, Stella Pei and Caspian Su were both dressed in black mourning clothes, their faces pale and grief-stricken. Hazel Zhang had come along too. On the surface, she'd claimed she was worried that Stella and Caspian would hurt Felix. But in reality, she'd come to snoop for information, terrified that her own dirty deeds would be exposed. Her scheming knew no bounds. Caspian fought to hold back his tears, forcing himself to stay calm. "This is the police station. This is my sister's death certificate. What you did, digging up her grave, will not go unpunished." Stella looked at Felix with nothing but disgust in her eyes. "When this is all over, you take that woman and that dead turtle and get out of my sister-in-law's house. I can't even stand the sight of either of you." Everyone at the police station had already heard about Felix Pei's absurd actions. Digging up his own wife's grave just to bury a pet turtle, it was nothing short of a scandal. But Felix Pei refused to back down. "You think just because we're at the police station I'll be afraid of you? Stop looking at me and Hazel like we're criminals. Tell your sister to show herself. She's doing this just to embarrass me, isn't she? Well, let her. I'll divorce her so fast she won't know what hit her. Then she'll be the one begging me to take her back. Caspian Su, you know how much your sister loves me. She'd give me anything, even her own life, let alone a lousy cemetery plot." Caspian lunged at him in a rage, but the police officers quickly pulled him back. In the mediation room, the police officer explained the situation to Felix Pei, placing my death certificate directly in front of him. Felix Pei stared at the paper in a daze, his eyes wide and unblinking. "Clara Su is dead? You're police officers, how can you help them lie to me like this? Clara Su is clearly still on her trip. She'll be back as soon as the National Day holiday is over." The police officer glared at him sternly. "Watch your tone. Your wife is indeed dead. But someone stole her phone and has been posting fake updates on moments. Right now, the phone's GPS location shows that it's right here at the police station." Caspian let out a bitter laugh. "Who else could it be? Only a blind, heartless fool would fail to see the truth. You're nothing but a disgrace to all men." Stella Pei shot a sharp glance at the guilty-looking Hazel Zhang. In one swift motion, she reached out and snatched my phone from Hazel's pocket. "I knew it was you, you vile woman. We have all the evidence we need. What else do you have to say for yourself? Hazel Zhang's face turned pale with panic. She stumbled over her words, her excuses weak and unconvincing. I didn't do it. I didn't know this was Clara Sue's phone. I found it on the street, I swear. I'm innocent. Stella Pei spat at her feet. Innocent? So you expect us to believe that you just happened to find my sister-in-law's phone on the street, and then accidentally started posting updates on her moments? Do you think anyone is stupid enough to buy that? Seeing that she was about to be caught, Hazel Zhang resorted to her oldest trick, bursting into tears to gain sympathy. Felix Pei, please believe me. This is all just a terrible misunderstanding. Felix Pei took a step back from her, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. You stole Clara Sue's phone? You used it to post fake updates on moments and lied to me. A look of utter devastation crossed Felix Pei's face. He walked slowly over to Stella Pei, his voice trembling. Where is your sister now? Stella Pei let out a cold, bitter laugh. Now you want to find her? Where was all this concern when you were digging up her grave? Do you finally regret what you did? Felix Pei's eyes widened in horror as if he'd just been struck by lightning. His legs gave way beneath him and he collapsed to his knees, staring at his own hands in disbelief. I dug up Clara Sue's grave. Stella Pei's expression remained cold and unforgiving. The sight of you on your knees pretending to be sorry makes me sick. You know exactly how my sister died, don't you dare play dumb now. She was bitten by a venomous snake during the National Day trip. You took the only vial of anti-venom and gave it to Hazel Zhang, even though she'd only been bitten by a harmless snake that posed no threat to her life. You let my sister die a slow, painful death from the snake venom. Do you have any idea that she was 1 month pregnant? Your wife and your unborn child died alone in a foreign land. It was me who had to go and identify their bodies. 2 lives gone in an instant. With that, Stella Pei raised her hand and slapped Felix Pei hard across the face. Her heart was filled with rage, pain, and a profound sense of loss. It was as if that single slap had finally woken Felix Pei up from his long, terrible delusion. When Hazel Zhang tried to step forward and help him up, he shoved her away so hard that she stumbled and fell to the ground. Get out of here. It's all your fault. You've been lying to me this whole time, pretending to be that poor, innocent victim. And that stupid turtle of yours, they're both nothing but garbage. Stay away from me. Hazel Zhang stared at him in utter disbelief. How had the man who'd once doted on her, who'd done everything she'd ever asked, suddenly changed so completely? Without Clara Sue, you still have me. We can still live a good life together, Felix Pei. Now that Clara Sue is no longer standing between us, we can finally be together openly. Felix Pei kicked her hard in the chest. Shut up. I have nothing to do with you. Get out of Clara Sue's and my house starting today. Hazel Zhang was imprisoned for several months for stealing the phone and sending messages in someone else's name without permission. And my ashes needed to be reburied properly. After learning of my death, Felix Pei spiraled into complete despair. He locked himself inside the house every day, clutching my photo and drowning his sorrows in alcohol. Because of his heavy drinking, he suffered a gastric hemorrhage and was admitted to the hospital. In the hospital, he writhed in agony, calling my name over and over again, yet no one answered. In the past, whenever he had a stomachache, I was always by his side, comforting him gently. Now that I was gone, the empty hospital ward felt eerie and desolate. Even the nurses found him annoying. After recovering and being discharged from the hospital, the doctor strictly ordered Felix Pei never to drink alcohol again. When he opened the front door, the first thing he kicked was an empty wine bottle. The room was filled with the lingering stench of tobacco and alcohol. His eyes fixed on the empty kitchen. It was as if he was reliving the past. Yes, in the past I was always in the kitchen making stomach-nourishing soup for him. He would sit on the sofa playing games leisurely, listening impatiently to my constant reminders and care. In the dead of night, Felix Pei curled up in the living room, hugging his knees and weeping bitterly. Why was I so stupid? Why did I choose to save my first love instead of my wife? Clara Sue was so good to me. She was the best woman in the world. Only a fool like me would fail to cherish her. Clara Sue, please come back. Come back and hit me, scold me, anything. Just don't leave me alone. I don't want to be lonely anymore. My soul floated above him, watching him in his unbearable agony. I only found it ridiculous. When he chose to give the anti-venom to Hazel Zhang, when he dug up my grave to bury her turtle, he hadn't looked like this at all. A belated love is cheaper than grass. How true that saying was. A few months later, Hazel Zhang was released from prison. The first thing she did after getting out was to go find Felix Pei. Felix Pei, I've already served my time in jail. I've paid for my mistakes. Let's start over again. Felix Pei's face was covered with stubble, his hair so long it covered his eyes. His voice was dry and hoarse. Get lost. The biggest regret of my life is meeting you. His icy words made a murderous look flash in Hazel Zhang's eyes. She suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed him fiercely in the stomach several times. You deserve to die. You promised to take care of me and my guardian deity for the rest of my life. You broke your promise, you deserve to die. Felix Pei collapsed to the ground, soaked in his own blood. As he lay dying he saw me. Clara Sue, don't abandon me. This time we'll never be separated again, okay? I looked at him with disgust. I saw everything you did. I don't want you anymore, not for a long time. Felix Pei dragged his bloodied body, crawling slowly toward my soul like a worm. How pathetic. Consumed by rage, Hazel Zhang stabbed him several more times in the neck. The police arrived quickly and arrested Hazel Zhang. Felix Pei died on the spot. When Stella Pei received the news of her brother's death, she remained calm. She only said one sentence. I knew he would get his comeuppance sooner or later. Perhaps seeing Felix Pei get his just desserts finally set my soul free. Before reincarnating, I turned around and saw Felix Pei chasing after me. Clara Sue, wait for me. Disgusting creep. Even dead he still wanted to haunt me. Without hesitation I stepped forward and entered the cycle of reincarnation first. I swore to myself that in my next life, I would keep my eyes wide open when choosing a man.